ChargePoint hasn't been doing very well recently, with their stock down 73% over the past year. Of course, a lot of that comes down to the overall economy right now and ChargePoint's ability to raise additional funds if they need to, since they aren't a profitable business yet. But there has been some pretty major shifts in the EV charging industry, most notably the introduction of the North American Charging Standard, or NACS connector that Tesla put out. A lot of the major automakers have already announced plans to adopt the NACS connector on their future vehicles, and this is having a big impact on the EV charging industry, with more and more companies announcing plans to adopt that NACS connector on their charging stations. This is a very significant shift, since Tesla drivers are no longer going to need an adapter to charge at companies like ChargePoint or EVgo or Electrify America. So there's going to be a lot more choices open to Tesla owners, which could drive new demand for ChargePoint. But on the other hand, all of those non-Tesla electric vehicles, they're now going to be able to charge at a lot of Tesla's charging stations. Before, they were stuck using companies like ChargePoint or Electrify America because there was nothing else on the market. You couldn't use Tesla's chargers because they had their own proprietary connector. But now that everyone seems to be moving towards the NACS connector, the competition is becoming much more direct between Tesla and companies like ChargePoint, EVgo, and Electrify America when it comes to the charging business. So now that companies like ChargePoint are competing even more directly with Tesla, I'm starting to wonder what really the advantage is for ChargePoint's hardware, because Tesla is also offering level 2 AC charging hardware, which is pretty much, that's ChargePoint's main business. So, now that the connectors are becoming the same, using that NACS connector, what's really the advantage? What's distinguishing ChargePoint from Tesla right now? And if there is anything, is that going to stick around in the future? Is that at risk of going away? These are the kinds of things I'm wondering about right now. So starting off on the Tesla side of this, their public level 2 charger that they're selling is the same piece of hardware pretty much as the wall connector that you would be purchasing for your home if you were going to be owning a Tesla. So basically, they're streamlining that charger design. All of their level 2 chargers, they've got the same design, the same specs pretty much. I believe there are some differences, but pretty much the hardware is the same no matter what purpose it has, whether it's for a home or if it's for outdoors at a parking garage, whatever. It's the same piece of hardware at the end of the day. And Tesla's pricing on this hardware is pretty good in my opinion. The standard NACS connector piece of hardware, that's priced at $475. And then the universal piece of hardware that has both the NACS connector and the J1772 connector for non-Tesla EVs, that's priced at $595. But over on the ChargePoint side, their public charging hardware is priced significantly higher. I haven't been able to find an exact figure for their pricing on their standard level 2 AC charging hardware, but if you search up the name for that and just go onto Google and see what's on sale, it seems like it's around $5,000 or so. It could go up to $10,000. I'm not totally sure what the pricing on that hardware is. If anybody knows the exact pricing on ChargePoint's hardware, please leave a comment down below. That would be awesome. But it seems like it's at least in the thousands and much higher priced than what Tesla is offering, with kind of around $500 or $600 for that hardware. ChargePoint also requires their customers to pay a cloud subscription for those customers' chargers to stay listed on the ChargePoint network. So, that's a recurring expense those customers need to be paying in addition to the cost of that hardware. And as far as I know, there's no other EV charging company that is doing some sort of a cloud fee thing like ChargePoint is doing. So what is there to justify the higher price of ChargePoint's hardware, particularly compared to Tesla's hardware? And I think the main thing comes down to the amount of control that hardware owner gets over, that charger itself. And the biggest part of that is the pricing on the electricity. ChargePoint has payment capabilities built into the hardware itself, So any businesses that want to be owning an EV charging station business, generating revenue from the sale of electricity, that is something they can do with ChargePoint's hardware. But as far as I know, Tesla's Level 2 hardware doesn't have any payment capabilities to it. Again, it's the same piece of hardware that would be used in people's homes. So there's no way to charge drivers for the electricity they're using if you're going with Tesla's hardware. This makes Tesla's hardware more of an amenity that businesses can provide rather than something that can directly generate revenue from those chargers themselves. Another big leg up ChargePoint has over Tesla is their DC fast charging hardware. Tesla, of course, is very well known for their supercharger network, but that's something Tesla owns themselves, and they generate revenue from that from selling the electricity to the drivers. ChargePoint, on the other hand, is selling their DC fast charging hardware. They're not owning it like Tesla does. They're selling that hardware to customers that want to own and operate their own charging stations, and really the biggest market for this is fleet operators. So as far as I can tell, there's really just these two main things separating ChargePoint's hardware from Tesla's at this point. One of those being the added features ChargePoint's hardware has, most notably the ability to have payments at those chargers. That's something that's critical to operating an EV charging business. And the second thing being their model of selling their DC fast charging hardware rather than owning it like Tesla does. One of my biggest concerns for ChargePoint and a lot of other EV charging companies is the potential for Tesla to get a lot more competitive in the charging industry. Historically, Tesla has kept themselves kind of isolated from the rest of the charging industry, using their own proprietary charging connector, but I think that could start to change more in the future now that the NACS connector has been adopted by pretty much all the major automakers and charging networks out there. Now, I don't necessarily think Tesla is going to start offering all sorts of new charging products that instantly puts ChargePoint out of business or anything like that. It's more of just a long-term thing. It just feels like eventually Tesla may want to go ahead and get into the business of selling DC fast charging hardware, and perhaps also get into the business of having a payment terminal or, at least just some kind of a payment capability for their Level 2 hardware. So if Tesla one day decided to offer these things, it's hard for me to see what ChargePoint is really bringing to the table for their customers, especially if their prices remain significantly higher than what Tesla is pricing their products at. Now again, I don't think this is an immediate concern for ChargePoint, but I think it's definitely worth keeping an eye on for the next 5, 10, 15 years, because it just seems like Tesla is fully capable of getting into ChargePoint's territory. But what I do think is an immediate concern for ChargePoint is their financial situation. I've got a whole video covering that with all of the latest numbers from their Q2 earnings release this year, so be sure to check that video out next, and I'll see all of you in the next one.